Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. For our listeners and our viewers who are regular, you will realize that we are now up to episode 250. So for this 250th episode, we have for you a very special guest. This person is, I guess, considered a bit of a legend. They previously trained out of Absolute MMA, and they're here today on the podcast. They are
Kim Cousins. That's right,
cheering voice, and that cheering voice that we also hear is the OG of the Roll or Die podcast himself, Anton. Mate, welcome back. It's awesome to see you back on the podcast. We couldn't do 250 without you being here, and we also couldn't do a bit of a conversation with Kim without you, mate. So welcome back.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's really exciting to flip the script here and get to come back on the show to interview Kim. It's a real privilege. I'm just loving what you guys are doing. I keep my eye on it. The show has gone so many levels up since the guard changed, and that is awesome to see. It's very exciting. I feel like a proud uncle or grandfather or something. But yeah, you guys are doing amazing work. And today, Kim, this is all about you, like celebrating 250 episodes. You and I, at the very beginning, this was a phone call. This thing evolved into then let's get some guests on, and now 250 episodes. How are you feeling about it these days?
Really good, really good. I'm a little bit apprehensive actually about this particular episode. Like you said, now that the script is being flipped, I'm like, woof, I don't know what questions are going to come my way, even though I've been doing this for, nearly 5 years. It's I feel a bit anxious about what you guys have got questions lined up for me.
The only questions. Yeah, well, the only questions to really worry about are the ones that Theo sent through, to be honest with you.
Let's give a shout out now as well to our editor, Theo, who has been a massive part of the success of this podcast. If you don't mind me saying, Anton, you were editing it to begin with. We started off fairly basically, and I think as it grew and got a lot bigger, it just became a little bit too much to manage. But Theo took on the IT side of things, and it's going gangbusters. So we've got to give a shout out. He likes to stay behind the camera. He doesn't want to be in front of it. So that's why he's not joining us today for this episode. We did try to convince him, but
Although if you do go look on Facebook, there's a photo with Kim, Theo, and I from yesterday or the day before at Rounds for Respect. That was an amazing event, don't you think, Kim? Like, I would really love to start there because if anything to do, like I'm fully reignited. My passion for the charitable power of the jiu-jitsu community is fully reignited. I must admit, I thought it had gone a bit cold, the community. I thought it was like every man, woman, and child for themselves again. But seeing what Georgia and the Conscious Combat people did in getting so many people to come together. They raised nearly $30,000 or at least $30,000. They certainly raised a lot of awareness. 92 women were lost to domestic violence in 2024 so far at the time that we did this. So we did a round for each woman who sadly was lost. And that was also the most personally challenging thing as far as jiu-jitsu that I've ever done. But Kim, what are your thoughts about that event? I'm keen to know. And
it's an amazing event. I mean, with my work, I work with women that are escaping family violence pretty much every day. So it is a topic that's pretty close to home. And I've known Georgia since back in the day when I was at Absolute. I know her passion for this, so it was amazing. And you're right. I think the jiu-jitsu community is a really beautiful environment, really beautiful place, and it was great that we could pull together and get something like that going. And the striking team as well. There was Muay Thai as well. So really, really amazing thing. And I think speaking of community, I mean, this podcast is the same sort of thing. I guess you could call it charitable. We're certainly not making any money off it, but
it's started to capitalize since I've been gone.
It's all about the community. Getting to know people. It started off Anton and I, like you said, just having a chit chat over the phone. And then I think, especially during the pandemic with the lockdowns, and we couldn't do that community thing where we all got together, it was a really good way to stay connected with each other. And then it just kept going from there. We just kept, each week bringing on a different person because everyone's got a story to tell. So, yeah, it's been fantastic to really get to know a lot of the people that are in that community.
Absolutely. I'm
And
hogging
being,
it. Yeah.
mate, no. You know your way around this podcast very well, mate. You're welcome to jump in whenever you want.
Kim and I
So
always
Kim,
alternated. That way, one of us wouldn't hog the guest. So maybe
Brent
let's do
and I
that.
got the same thing going. Yeah.
we try that.
Not easy.
Sometimes I get a bit excited. It's the other way. Hey Kim, this podcast is going to be about celebrating 250, but also a massive part of this podcast is getting to know you, Kim. We get requests for guests all the time, and I know people also want to hear a little bit more about you, or a lot more about you. So there are so many questions, but let's go right back to the start, Kim. Why BJJ? Like, how did this come about for you?
Yeah. So, my ex-husband, my first husband, did jiu-jitsu back in the day, back in the 90s. I'd always kind of been interested in that. And so, yeah, when we split up, I thought, hey, let's give this a go. It's, I felt like it would be something right up my alley. You know, I'd been pretty physically fit. I'd trained weights for many years, thought that I was pretty hot shit, to be honest, when I hit the mats. And I joined up at Peter Devine back then. This was probably 2009. There wasn't a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academies around in Melbourne. And my ex had trained with Peter Devine in St Kilda, so I joined in there. Found it a great place for me to be, not just a mum. At that time I was a single parent with 3 little kids, and it was really exciting for me to have a place where I wasn't a mum for a couple of hours a night or whatever it would be. When I first started, it was tough. Like, I was pretty much me and maybe 1 or 2 other females on the mats. It wasn't anything like it is now, where there's, you'd get 5, 10 women in a class. It was pretty much me and a bunch of sweaty dudes. So I can't lie, I didn't fall in love with it immediately the way that some people do. Like, I found it pretty gross, to be honest. Like, you're sort of stuck underneath these sweaty men. It's just, hats off, especially to the teens that can do that, because it's a really, I found it really confronting, but I stuck with it. I think that's probably more to do with my personality, that I'm just so stubborn. I just refuse to give up. The early days were tough for me because, my circumstances where I had 3 very small children, I would pretty much pay a babysitter so that I could go to class. My jiu-jitsu became like my social life. So had a mate, one of Kane's mates had a sister. I'd pay her, I can't even remember, for a couple of hours on a Friday night. She would like feed the kids, put them to bed, and I would go and basically get choked out, repeatedly, and come back and then do it all again the next week and again the next week. I was probably only training once a week for the first so many months. And I really had no idea what I was doing, but I was just so stubborn that I refused to stop. So kept going, got to a point where my kids started school, and so I could take them off to school. And then my youngest, Randall, he was still at home with me. I would bring him along with me to class. So I started going twice a week so that I could learn some more stuff before. And then, I remember I would actually take him to the supermarket after class if he behaved well, so that we could, like, that was his reward for being good on the mats for me. But yeah, my kids are now 24, 22 and 19. My oldest is now doing jiu-jitsu as well. I finally got one of them into the fold. But yeah, so that's pretty much the beginning of my journey in a nutshell.
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna cut to the chase here, Kim, because I have a vague memory that you actually started jiu-jitsu as like a relationship revenge type situation.
Why
Is
don't
that
you
the truth?
bypass that? You know my story too well. That's it.
Tell
Yeah.
us.
So
Nothing up.
My ex had a bit of a falling out with Peter Devine, and so that was actually part of the reason why I started with that club specifically as a bit of a like, how's that type of thing. But like I said, I mean, within a couple of weeks, it was not about that at all. It was just about continuing on the jiu-jitsu journey, and
Yeah, my
from there.
point about that though is it's amazing what kicks off people's journey. Like, who would have thought revenge,
Yes.
relationship revenge could get you to where you are today, But you also could have been one of the few guests on the show who could have had a two jiu-jitsu relationship to talk about. Like, we get relationship couples on. You could have had two, but no, you only had one. You got Theo.
I don't know if he still trains anymore, to be honest. He was, last I heard, he was still a blue belt. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I've surpassed that. So, yeah, that's good. But, yeah, so it's a good thing that came out of that relationship. It got me on the jiu-jitsu path. So that's something good. Every time something bad happens, something good can come from it. So, yeah, that's that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? If you're gonna like beat them up for the bad things, you got to thank them for the good things, right? And then falling into jiu-jitsu like you have is it's wonderful. Yeah, it's really good. I actually, to be honest, I just want to sit here and listen to you and Anton just give you shit, and me just continue to learn all these things. He knows too much, right? Anton's got all the secrets in the cupboard.
Oh my God.
Like, I literally can't wait. So those early days, Kim, when there's only a few of you on the mats, and then you go from one class to two classes, did you feel your progress was really slow? And as you say, like, your stubbornness, you're like, I don't care, I'm just going to keep doing this. Were you encouraged by progress at all, or like literally like, I'm just doing it, I'm stubborn?
Yeah, look, I used back before, this is even before there was a lot of stuff on YouTube or the internet. I had a couple of books like that, like Gracie University, Drill to Win, those kind of things. And I used to do the solo drills at home, like against the wall, hip escaping up and down the corridor and things like that. Trying to use my kids as like the dummy to do stuff with. And I feel like my progress really picked up once I got to blue belt and I started training. Shout out to Michael Hurigan, who set up some classes that were quite different. So my early days at Peter Devine, and it might even still be that way at that club now, where it wasn't the structure that many clubs have now, where you'd come in, you'd warm up, you'd have a technique, you'd share the technique, you'd drill the technique, then you'd do specific training, etc. It was almost like an open mat every class. So there might be a question, someone would ask a random question, I'm having trouble here. So, the technique would be explained, we would partner up, and then we would do these kind of off-the-wall drills, sweeping passing drills, where there would be people in the middle that you had to pass. If you won, you stayed in. If you lost, you went back on the wall. And Devine at that stage was pretty highly ranked. There was mostly brown and black belts and, maybe a handful of lower belts. So as a lower belt, I found myself just on the wall the whole time, like trying to pass, couldn't. And it ended up that I felt like, I guess my progress was quite stagnant. But when Horrigan started they were like drilling classes. He had gone over to the States and trained with some of the academies over there and found drilling was like a really good way to improve your technique. And that really helped me to improve. So that was probably where I found the biggest change to my game through blue belt. And then, I got my purple belt also at Devine. I've got to say, I reckon for me, purple belt was my favorite belt. Like, I feel like that's where you really craft out your game. You really get known for a couple of things. And it was at purple belt that I made the transition across to absolute. It was kind of crazy. I was living in the northern suburbs and I've been driving all the way into St Kilda for 5 years. Like, again, my stubbornness, like, why? By that stage.
And loyalty. I'm going to say loyalty as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I am very, very loyal. So it became, though, jiu-jitsu had grown so much. There were so many more academies. So then I joined Absolute, and it was great because there was a heap of women in that team as well, smaller women. I think about 2 weeks after I started, they opened up the other academy, which was previously at South Yarra and then became St Kilda. So that was kind of frustrating because a bunch of the women then left and went over there, and it almost defeated the purpose of me leaving Sabine to go and train at an academy that was like a kilometre from where I had previously trained.
Yeah.
So then, I went across to Absolute as a purple belt, and was lucky enough to get my brown and my black there. So,
That's awesome.
made another move earlier in 2024 when I moved house again, back to the northern suburbs, and I joined Dominance Thomastown because, again, just kind of figured, why am I driving 45 minutes in the wrong direction when there's so many good academies now in Melbourne, and there's one,
Yeah.
10 minutes away that's really, really good. So, I guess I'm a full crouch because I've been at all three clubs now. And
I love it. I
full
love it. I
circle.
think that's how you pick up amazing skills. And I also think that um, Dominance is an epic club. I was there on the weekend. I was at the Abbotsford facility. That is something special over there. But
Yeah,
um, I think that the style of the jiu-jitsu club, the Sabine style earlier, has its place and still has its place today. There's some people
yeah,
who just don't respond well. They get bored drilling stuff over and over
yeah,
again, and they will develop much faster in like an inquiry type environment. So, I hope that
yeah,
there are still plenty of clubs around doing that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's definitely not for everyone. My question for you, um, 50 years old, because at the time of recording this, Kim is 50 years old today. Happy birthday to you, Kim. And
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, look,
it's,
she's got a great
you
cup. So happy on 50. I love it.
Perfect. So turning 50 versus getting your black belt. Like that, I can't say I've experienced both of them. So what would you say? What are the similarities and what are the differences, or how do they relate to you? Like what stands out?
I'm only just a few hours into the 50th, so I can't say. I'm 5 and a bit years on the black belt, so I probably got more, I guess, to say there. But yeah, look, the black belt, I would have to say at this stage trumps it because the reality is, I've invested a lot of my time into jiu-jitsu. It's pretty closely linked with my identity. And achieving the black belt for me was probably kind of just one below the birth of my children. Like having my kids is definitely my greatest achievement, and raising them is, that's the thing I'm the most proud of. But achieving a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is really tough. And I think achieving it as a female, as a single female as well, that's, I've done it without having a black belt partner as a coach, etc. Like I guess I'm really, really proud of that. Um, Turning 50, I've done a lot of soul searching over the past week or so, a lot of thinking about it because, I guess you could say it's kind of midlife if I live to 100, but maybe I'm beyond midlife now. Like maybe I'm on the top of the mountain and I'm heading back down again now. So,
Yeah.
don't know what to think of that. But definitely, I think as you get older, that older and wiser thing, it's there, and I guess for me, being older, I just care less about what people think of me.
Ah,
That's probably been one of the main things. This is what I'm doing, and sorry, you can take it or leave it. I really don't care for people's opinion quite so much. That's
mm,
probably been my main takeaway so far. I'm only, like I
beautiful.
said, just turned 50.
Like
So
sub question to that, right? Your black belt, do you care less about what people think about your jiu-jitsu in the same way that as a 50-year-old, like a more mature practitioner of
yeah,
life versus a more
true.
practitioner?
Yeah, look, the black belt, when you get it, I don't know, to me especially, there's so much goes on, like imposter syndrome with all the belts. But, the weirdest part was like standing next to your coach at the lineup. That's really weird because, even now, like up until last weekend, I was theoretically the same rank as Lincoln, as my coach, which is just crazy because we're just miles apart in our jiu-jitsu knowledge and our jiu-jitsu ability. And I think for me, I've just had to sort of put it all in perspective a bit with anything, with any black belt, because I'm a mum with 3 kids who works a full-time job, who
Yeah.
trains jiu-jitsu as a hobby a couple of times a week,
Mm,
versus someone who that's their career, and he's probably on the mat in a day as much as I am in a whole week.
mm,
And it's been that way for me actually all the way through jiu-jitsu. There's been especially a lot of females coming up who, people like Liv and Jess Fraser and Hope, they started well after me. but they've progressed like through the ranks. But
Mm.
I can't compare myself to them because
No.
their journey is totally different to mine. So
Sure.
I still have to sort of say, and it's hard because, yeah, I've probably got a pretty big ego. So it's a hard pill to swallow when, Adele Fornerino subs you in 30 seconds and you're just like,
Yeah.
shit, man.
She subbed me in
But then
15.
again,
If it makes you feel better, she'll sub me in 15. So
oh
don't worry.
man, so, but whatever, like that's their journey and this is my journey. And so you have to kind of like lose that a little bit at the black belt because no matter what your rank, you're still on your own path. And I guess that's the main thing.
Yeah, it's like comparison is the thief of joy, right? And if you are comparing yourself to others, like it's just never a good path to go down. And I
That's it.
think,
Yeah.
I mean, whether you start when you're young, but you're not an athletic person and you're just grinding through, or you start when you're older and, that's your path that you go through, or you sit there one day and you leave in school and you're like, hey, I want to do this full time. And you put everything you can into it. Your
Yeah.
journey is your journey, and comparing yourself to somebody else, even on the mats. I mean, we might have that friendly rivalry, or the person on the mat that I give him a hard time and he gives me a hard time, or she drives me crazy because I can never pass her guard, but I drive her crazy because if I ever do, she's never getting out. Whatever those situations are. Comparing yourself to others, it's just it's not a good path to go down, right? But being proud of the journey that you've actually been on, and you're the same, Anton. You've been doing this for a long time as well now. Like being proud of the journey that you've actually been on. I think that's the important part. Like actually stopping sometimes and realizing that, and whether it's getting your black belt or whether it's getting to 50. I mean, both of those have things that are important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So true.
For sure.
So true. You got a question for Kim, Brent?
No. Anton, keep going. I'm just going to chirp up every now and again.
I love that.
I
completely
do want to hear a little bit about your. I do want to hear a little bit about your competitive side and competitions as well, Kim. So whether you go through white, blue, purple, brown, black, that would be cool too.
Yeah, look, I never started jiu-jitsu as an intent to compete at all. I guess a lot of people start off with that same thought. And I don't know, but then at the same time, I am a very competitive person. Like I can't play board games because if I lose, I can't talk to you for the rest of the day kind of thing. Like that's the board games have had to be like hidden in the house because I'm too competitive.
Okay.
But, yeah, I guess it was just I got caught up with it in the club. Like when I first started, I was only about 3 months in and the pan packs came along and everybody seemed to be doing it. So I was like, oh, yeah, all right, I'll go along. And, I remember we didn't start our rounds from standing when I was at Devine. So it was almost a week or two before the first comp that I did that I realized that we would have to start on the feet. And then I was like, what am I meant to do? Like, tried to learn a few takedowns and then couldn't get them. So I think that was possibly the reason why I started pulling guard, and I've been doing it for the last 15 years. But yeah, like I didn't have a competition history that's like amazing from the get-go. I wonder if this is part of the reason why I'm so kind of known in the jiu-jitsu community, because I sucked. I'm not going to, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Like I was terrible. Like I lost repeatedly at each belt. Like I would lose and lose and lose as white belt, then got my blue. I finally won, get my blue belt. And then the same thing again, like lose repeatedly, finally get a few wins, get my purple belt. And I can remember at one comp, I think it was a Panpax, Ninos, the head coach of AET, one of the nicest guys ever, he said to me, you know what, Kim, you used to be shit. You just worked your ass off. And that's pretty much, what it is. Like
How
my
good's that?
jiu-jitsu, it never comes naturally for me. Like I can't still to this day, even now, 15 years in, watch a technique from, be demonstrated. And then you put your right hand here, left hand, blah, 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 whatever, and get it in one go. I'm still that person that's like, wait, what? Hang on. Right hand. Oh, wait, no, I haven't got. Oh, turn. Oh, no. So I think between the two of those things, it's kind of given people faith that, if I can do this, anyone can do this, right? Like, I don't know. People say, oh, of course you're athletic. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm that athletic. I don't have like a brain that sees jiu-jitsu and can pick it up. I don't have like a body that's like able to withstand a lot of the pressure of jiu-jitsu. I'm like a small older female. Like, if I can hang on and keep going, then I think it's just my stubbornness in my mind. But yeah, then going back to my competition history, I guess I did compete a lot as a blue belt, especially. I remember back in the day, there wasn't as many jiu-jitsu comps as there are now. You had to pretty much travel to be able to get the competition experience in. And I started, I remember one year, 2013, I think it was, I did 11 comps in that year.
Wow.
So I went to Sydney, I went to like the Tasmanian states, I went and did the Abu Dhabi Pro, I went to Northern Territory. I just went everywhere so that I could get as much jiu-jitsu experience as I could, because I really feel like competing, it just accelerates your growth so much more than any other, learning that you do in class. The mistakes you make in comp are magnified 100-fold. You will never make that mistake again because the consequence is too big, versus making a mistake like that in class. Oh, well, whatever. Let's just roll again. So to me, that was a big part. Purple belt was probably my most successful competition time, which was partly, I think, why I enjoyed purple belt so much. Didn't do quite so well at brown competitively. Had a bit of stuff going on off the mats as well. And I also kind of found brown I didn't enjoy, because to me it was a belt where I feel like I had to plug all those holes in my game. Purple belt had been doing the stuff I was good at and doing it over and over, whereas brown belt was more about kind of, if I was going to get a black belt, I had to be a bit more rounded. So figuring out the stuff that I've been neglecting for however long and focusing on that a bit more. So that was where I'm at. And so now at black belt, we'll see. It's been up and down. I've had some wins, I've had some losses, and I guess I'm here to stay.
Well, do you remember your first
note,
black belt comp?
Yeah, I was only a couple of months in, and it was Pan Pacs. And up until that point, I had always done adults. So even at like 40 plus, I was still competing at adults. And at that stage, I was lucky enough that there was a couple of women that were masters. So I managed to start. That was my first time of actually doing masters when I became a black belt. So that was great.
Wow.
That was really nice. And like to have some more masters women on the mat. So anyone that's listening, please get out there and compete so that we have some opponents and we don't have to go down to adults.
Yeah, well, you were sharing with me just on the weekend that you are one of the most mature female black belts who is around even training, let alone competing.
Yeah, active, I guess. Yeah, actively.
Active black belts. So, well, like, what do you think is the secret to that? Because is this genetics? Is this mindset? Is this just stubbornness? What's going on here?
A bit of all three. Yeah, possibly a bit of all three. But I don't know. Like, there's times where, especially some mornings, I wake up and I think, why do I keep doing this to myself? I can barely move. I'm surely going to be better off to stick with yoga and just go down that path and grow old, better than being crippled. But I don't know, the community, and I suppose I have a bit of FOMO, because even if I miss a class and then I'll look at social media and see like, oh my God, there was like 40 people in that class and they look like they did great. So I still want to keep coming back because they're my friends. Like, I don't want to miss out on that. That's part of it as well. And I mean, sometimes I think, okay, I'll go to class and I'll just take it easy. I'll just chill and I won't have crap. But it unfortunately doesn't really happen like that too much at Dominance. There's hard rounds. So it's kind of a bit of everything. But I don't know. I want to be that person that's still on the mat when they're 75. But I've got to probably be a little bit smarter with the recovery. Seems to be the key to keeping on the mat. I do yoga. I do try and stretch where I can. I'm swimming, doing weights, things like that. I think what you do off the mat is the stuff that keeps you longer on the mat, long term.
Can I just say, right, I just want to I want to blow my own trumpet here, but not because I want to, but because I feel like this is scientific, right? On Rounds for Respect, I did 92 rounds, 92 2-minute rounds, 1 minute rest. I even rolled through the lunch break because I didn't want to wait in the queue for the truck. So I didn't stop at all day. And then the next day I did 4 hours of jiu-jitsu and I was fine. I think that I'm not saying I'm good, actually. I'm not that great at jiu-jitsu. I'm not specifically fit. I don't do any lifting. I don't do any stretching. I don't have a special diet. So I don't know why. Like, I'm just obsessed, just jiu-jitsu obsessed. But I'm not so sure about the recovery thing. It may be a myth. Just maybe it's a myth because I don't do any of it and I'm feeling good. So I just want to put that out there that either like I don't know what the secret is. I definitely don't go 100% all the time. I'm not 100% balls to the wall guy.
Yeah.
But I can go a very, very, very long time. So maybe it's less about going 100%, more about going less intensity than recovery, maybe.
And I also think like your body kind of adjusts a little bit to what you're doing. Because if there's ever a time, like I know during the lockdowns, for example, when we stopped training so much, and then when I started back up again, when gyms reopened, oh my God, I was sore. Like, I think that you get used to a certain level of training or intensity or whatever, and then, it stopped. Like, you just keep going on that.
That's okay. Just keep going. Go till we stop.
Yep. That's it.
That conditioning, the conditioning side of it, Like where if you do train 3 times a week or 4 times a week or something, your body is so used to it. Even if you're waking up sore constantly, it's like, oh, I'm always sore. Like this is normal. Maybe it's not normal.
Normal soreness.
Maybe it's not normal, but it's normal for us.
It's normal to us.
Absolutely.
Hit us with another one of those questions, Anton. Let's hear it, mate.
All right, couples training. I'm fascinated with couples training. I love couples who do BJJ. Let's look inside Kim and Theo's life a little here, because I'll never have a couples. I'm all in with a pole dancer, so I'll never know a jiu-jitsu relationship. Tell me about what it's like these days with you and Theo training, same club, you know.
He'll probably have a different answer to this than me, because he says that people say to him, oh, you're so lucky, you're married to a black belt, she must help you so much. And he says to them, no, she never helps me at all. Because, I mean, obviously the size difference. For people that don't know, Theo's 130 kilos, I'm around 60 kilos. So it's physically, you can talk what you want about leverage, but there's just not a lot of things we can physically do together. You know, during the lockdown, back then he was like a 0-stripe white belt. It was very challenging. We just tried to do guard retention drills and things like that. So if we do ever physically train together, it's usually around the guard, him playing guard, and me kind of giving him tips around stuff like that. But I disagree with him saying that I'm not helping him with his jiu-jitsu, because even if it's not physical, like emotionally or like psychologically, I could give him so much more tips than a non-jiu-jitsu partner could, because I can't tell you the number of things that he asks me questions about with jiu-jitsu, especially back in the early days when he was white belt. You know, he would send me all these bullshit techniques on YouTube, like, look at this,
that won't fucking work.
This one. And I would say, that's never going to work. No one's going to react like that. And he was like, oh, why you always rain on my parade? Just let me try it. I was like, okay, you go to class and you try that and you tell me how that works. And then he'd come back with his tail between his legs and say, okay, you were right. Yeah, no, that didn't work. That didn't work. So I feel like I've cut out a lot of that time, you know, those white belt, blue belt early days with the YouTube stuff, because I can help him like channel his training a little bit better to the stuff that is going to be relevant or is going to work. So
no one's ever said that on the show before. I love that answer. That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's where things are. But yeah, probably at least 50% of our conversation is about jiu-jitsu. So I think he is getting help in a roundabout way with his jiu-jitsu.
Theo will edit all of that out.
He will.
We just mix up the words. We're doing AI Kim talking.
He
never helps me with my jiu-jitsu.
He's getting pretty good on the editing. Yeah, he probably will. He will.
Yeah. Awesome.
Like even just in regards to that, because I have competed against Theo a couple of times now, which I really enjoyed. And with even in those times with you coaching him, you know, like he seems very coachable with the things that you are telling him to do, you know, so he definitely listens to you in that realm for sure.
100%. He's so fortunate. Like, he's come in at a time where there is all of this information available, on YouTube, and, all of the internet has so much available for him that if he learns something in class, the next day he'll go on and just download a bunch of stuff about it.
Yeah.
And he's got like a photographic memory too, so he really picks up things really quick.
Yeah.
But I said to him recently, I'm like, you're going to be better than me at jiu-jitsu because, like, I've only got here because I got the head start and you time-wise. But, yeah, for what he can achieve, like, he's going to become, as I said, probably better than me one day. And,
I remember the first time that I competed against Theo. I'm like, okay, he's a big guy and he's strong and he's heavy. But like now, because I roll with him quite often, like whenever we're at the gym, we generally will roll together. I'm like, oh, his techniques are getting very, very good. Like he's actually getting good at jiu-jitsu now, right? And I'm like, you're putting somebody who's strong and powerful with really good technique, and it's like, oh, this is just the recipe for a disaster. And now he's working all of this judo stuff. He's becoming a little bit judo obsessed as well. I'm like, oh my God.
He will definitely not edit this out. That's for sure. He will put that at the...
I can't wait to enter the absolute division again with Theo.
He's fast
I wonder
as
how
well. That's the problem. He's
Does
fast.
anyone know how many of his gis he can get in the washing machine? Because I can put 2 or 3 of my gis in before it starts to.
2 is max. 2.
2 is max. I can imagine that, like that. I do not want to be Theo's washing machine. I'm telling you that right now. It's
even after class, it's like it's been through the shower, like the sweat, like, and he'll put mine in. Like, did you even train today? I guess
it's already like an A4. It's a very wet A4.
Oh my God, weighs like 10 kilos putting it in, and mine's like fresh as a daisy. Because as you go along, you become more efficient, in your movements. So sometimes I'm like, I haven't really sweated, but
that's so good. I bet he edits this part out.
That's
We love you. We love you, Theo.
We do love you, Theo. We do, you big sweaty beast. All right. Injuries.
Yeah.
Like you had a whopper.
I had a couple of it. So
Speaking of stubbornness, how did that happen?
That's it. Look, I've heard it said that injuries are kind of a result of ego, and I've got to say that's it. 100% for me. That's where it came from. I was pretty lucky, and I guess I'm pretty unusual that I never got any injuries in the beginning. Like, many people cop their injuries at like white belt, blue belt, but I guess it came back to the environment I was training in at Peter DeBean at the time. So for all the fact that they didn't train in a traditional way with teaching technique, etc., it was a very, very supportive environment. And I think because they were very experienced, majority of the time I was training with brown and black belts, they really looked after me. So I never kind of had that experience that other people did of having injuries. And then it was, my very first injury came on at brown belt when I was competing in the open weight division of the Abu Dhabi Pro, where there was a ticket for women. Just they only gave one ticket, and it was in the open division. And I guess Demi Butler, who's quite a bit bigger than me, had both my sleeves. She did a sweep and I couldn't post, so I put all the weight through my shoulder, which was a grade 3 tear to my left shoulder. And at the time, I was given the option to have surgery or not surgery. I went against having the surgery, and I kind of wonder if that was the right thing to do now, because the physio and the surgeon that I had didn't really know jiu-jitsu. So it's definitely something that is quite compromised, and I have to maintain like the strength of all the area around it all the time now, because I've got like an 11 millimeter gap. Like, nothing is actually holding my shoulder together anymore. And as we know, jiu-jitsu is very, very hard on the body. So that's, it's about that much. So that's why
centimeter and a bit. Wow.
Collarbone is exposed. And then
it sticks up, doesn't it, Kim? It sticks up.
It's like
I remember you saying, Brent, feel this, and I'm like,
let me see. Can see it there?
Oh
that's it. It sticks out. It sticks out, and like from the back, it looks even weirder. But I make it work still, and I guess the fact I'm just quite compromised on the left side. And then 2 years ago in Panpax, similar time again competing. This time she had a kind of Kimura on, like a weird kind of Kimura that I'm like, I don't even know what this submission is. And I've got too much ego. Like, I just thought, this is a shit submission. I'm not tapping to this. I can get out of this. I'm all good. And I did get out. But as a result of getting out, my elbow pretty much snapped in half. So
Wow.
that one I did have the surgery for,
Yeah.
which was fortunate, because if I had gone down that path of no surgery, I actually don't know that I'd be able to keep doing jiu-jitsu. So
Right.
again, yeah, it's a little bit compromised, the whole left side of me now. So again, I just have to keep on with my weight training and make sure that I strengthen all the area all around it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just staying on this path, like how has that impacted your mindset? And also, do they, like, because you see in the UFC people get knocked out or they get their arm broken or whatever.
Mm.
Like, are they? It feels like they walk off and they come back 6 weeks later and everything's fine.
Yeah.
Is that reality of these sorts of injuries, or do you? I mean, you said you're dealing with these still to an extent. You should have had surgery, maybe,
and,
but
to this day now, like, the shoulder's been 8 years, but I still, like, have in my mind, psychologically a bit like, ugh. I know that when I first came back after the shoulder, I had Nathan at Absolute throw me, like, repeatedly over and over, because he's a judo
what a
black belt, right? So
bastard.
just get used to landing, because the whole concept of, like, being thrown onto my shoulder would, like, freak me out. And I think by being tense, that's actually where the injury is going to get worse. So for me, it was more about, like, learning to relax and be like, I'm still cool. But even now, like, we were doing berimbolos for the last couple of weeks, and I'm still like, why can't I get this? And it's like, psychologically, the idea of rolling onto that shoulder still, like, makes me anxious,
Wow.
which is crazy. So it's, for me, I don't feel like I've come back and like, yeah, I'm all good. Like, it's still in my mind all the time.
Yeah. Human beings. Okay. Got it. Thank you. Wow.
Going forward in competitions, Kim, what's the mindset around tapping?
Yeah, now that was very much a lesson learned, that I tap as, like, stupid, because I lost 6 months of jiu-jitsu, when I had to come back from the elbow. So definitely, I think anybody, like, listening out there, don't be an idiot like me. Just tap as soon as, it's on. There's nothing, certainly not for, like, a cheap medal or something like that, or even if there is prize money, it's not worth, like, the consequences of having to go through the surgery and then just the recovery. It's so hard that the comeback after injury is very slow, and jiu-jitsu is already tough enough on your body. You don't need to make things worse for yourself.
Absolutely.
I mean, getting caught in those submissions, not tapping, getting injured, and then spending time away from the mats.
Yeah.
Like, it's really the worst decision, Like, okay, I got caught in the submission. I tap now, and then Monday I'm in fixing the issue that got me into that position,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
But I mean, in saying that, in the middle of a competition, you're like, maybe it can bend a little bit further.
Nah, yeah, that's right. Yes. No,
Do speak the truth. That is the benefit of our sport, is that you can tap. It's like such a blessing. It's like, just do the thing that we're meant to do.
That's right.
So true.
100%. 100%.
So I think we should switch gears here a little bit, because we have been interviewing the amazing Kim for 45 minutes, and we did talk. Like, I would really love to reflect on a couple of the amazing episodes that we have had the privilege of hosting over 250.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to kick off with a couple of their favorites, or a few of their favorites?
I'll go first. I mean, my favorites, I guess I'd say the ones that I've enjoyed the most are those that the very energetic people. And I guess the Brazilians tend to bring quite a lot of energy. They love to tell stories. So they're very, even when they can't speak English that well, generally quite communicative with us. And I'd say the standouts for me have been Vincenzo Cavalcanti. We chatted with him after he came off his win of World Masters, when back you had to quarantine when you went overseas. So we interviewed him actually in his hotel room, and that was a really, really amazing one. Then there was Lucas Santana, Thiago Braga. I also really enjoyed Nico Maglacek first time round. He's very energetic. He's a young guy. Robbie Singh, he was also a really, really energetic guy, had a great one. And Ninos, like the recent one that we've done, Ninos just has so much wisdom and is such a beautiful person that, yeah, they've probably been my standout ones for me.
Absolutely. I remember Robbie Singh was 160 kilos at some point, I think.
Something like crazy like that.
Yeah.
Those inspirational ones really get me, where he told the
Me
story
too.
of how he,
Me too.
yeah,
Me too.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
How
about
about
you
you,
guys?
Brent? How about you, Brent? What stood out for you so far?
So you guys did VC. I agree. VCs was really good. I really enjoyed that one. But I actually can't go past my coach link.
Yeah.
I'm like you, Tim. Like I really am a loyal person, and I think I can sit there and listen to Link and talk to Link for hours and hours and hours. So having you guys interview him a couple of times, the first one was tough because lockdown sucked. So I really struggle actually those initial ones where we go back and we listen to those and we're talking about lockdowns and COVID, like it just drives me
Non-stop.
fucking crazy to be honest. So I try to avoid
Yes,
those
totally.
as much as I can. But
Yeah.
the recent one that you guys did with Link, I really enjoyed that. So for me,
Yeah.
my coach Link, I can't remember the episode
Yeah.
number, but that was a really good one. And then I've got probably two since I've sort of jumped in, and I think Trail Dowie I think was really, really
Yeah.
good. I really enjoyed Trail again, like a very, very intelligent guy. And then one that's yet to come out, and it'll be out by the time everybody's listening to this. But Sam Jeffries, I really like Sammy. He's just got his black belt. I know Sammy a little bit personally, so sometimes I think it's the people that you do know, but you get to know them a little bit more. And I think that's what I found with you guys interviewing Link, and that's what I found with Sammy too. So there are a few that, or a couple that stick out, in my mind.
Amazing.
And Anton?
There's three that stand out for me at a glance. I just scrolled back through them and my heart was singing with joy while I did. I pretty much almost cried, I'm not going to lie. But KP Kadek came on the show with Mikhail, and they have a very tight coach and student and friendship. But KP lost both of his eyesights in separate instances, which is amazing in its own right. And then has gone on to do jiu-jitsu. He's really progressing, and he has a lot of support. It takes something. Actually, I see KP at events, at jiu-jitsu events, and then there's people talking him through what's happening in the cage. He's fully invested in the community, and it's a two-way. That's an amazing whole separate conversation. But that was a very moving episode for me. Really, really, and Mikhail as well. Like in that same breath. It takes something as well. Like Mikhail has to, it's pros and cons, it's sacrifices, and all in the name of love and support. That's this community for me. Karel Pravec, known as AKA the Silver Fox, that guy in COVID ran a show every single day of the lockdown, Rolling with the Fox. And he is a very deep knowledge black belt. James Walters, a good friend of mine, rolled him. James is a young killer, was at the time. And he said that the Silver Fox is one of the trickiest people he's ever rolled. And, that's amazing because the Silver Fox is older than me, I'm pretty sure. I recommend you check that out. And then also when Liv came on the show and brought baby Walt on the show. Baby Walt. I think, we don't get many babies on the show. But there is something special about this community. It's very inclusive. It's great to have children, to bring them into the environment, to bring them up in such a healthy world. That gives me hope for the future of the planet on so many levels. So, I've known Liv for just so long nowadays. So, they're three that just stand out for me.
Yeah, no, it's been an amazing experience. We're looking forward to continuing doing it. I think part of the success of this podcast is just the consistency, and it's similar to jiu-jitsu as well. Yeah, because people sometimes ask, for what's the secret, what's how do you get better at jiu-jitsu? The reality is just keep showing up, and I feel like that's what we've done with this podcast. Not going to lie, there's been times where I think, I don't know if I can be bothered to do this anymore. Like, it's a little bit of work behind the scenes that people may not realize, that I do wonder why. And then we do a recording, we have a chat, and I'm like, no, I love this. I want to keep doing this like forever. So hopefully we can keep doing that for a really long time. Can anyone listening out there, please send us recommendations of people that you do want to see on, because we're very open to suggestions, and we want to getting to know more people in the community. We want to do another 250 episodes or more if we can. So, yeah, I'm here for the long haul, and thank you very much to everyone for supporting us. And it actually makes my day when I meet people, and so often one of the first things they say to me is, "I love your podcast." And
Mm-hmm.
I don't realize the reach that we have. So yeah, it's definitely out there, and I think we're one of the only Australian Jiu Jitsu podcasts that is released every single week. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. It's a very special thing. It's been going for a long time now. It'll go for a long time more, no doubt.
Yep.
And I would love to put my hand up to be, part of the crew whenever I can be of service to you guys. I really, really love, I love seeing this thing evolve.
Yeah.
And someone came up to me the other day and said, that roller die rash guard. I was wearing the roller die rash guard. That looks really good. Yeah, that's Brent and Kim's podcast, isn't it? And I was technically, yes, it is.
Oh,
That was pretty cool. I like that.
yeah. Well, we don't have anymore, but we have a T-shirt. So please get behind us and order a T-shirt. We will put the link on the show. We also have, I guess it's 250 episodes, the time to share, a sponsorship with Fuji coming up. So we are still working out the details of that, but we are looking forward to sharing in the future some goodness for you, and really excited to have a big company like that with us on this journey. So
it's exciting.
Stay tuned for more.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
Awesome to have Fuji on board. That's going to be awesome for us, and obviously for all the listeners too. So whether it's giveaways or codes or whatever, then Fuji on board it's definitely going to be a big thing. And then remember, tag Hoya if you're out there. I need a new watch, so please sponsor us as well. Kim wants a Porsche.
Absolutely.
Anton wants something, I'm sure.
I'll have a tag and a Fuji gi. I'm down for both.
Mate, we'll, as soon as tag are on board, then we'll be promoting that too. Kim, it's been wonderful getting to know you a little bit more. Your start in jiu-jitsu, your competition life, your thoughts around it. So it's been fantastic. And again, from both Anton and I, I'm sure, happy 50th birthday. 50 is good. 50 is a great, it's a great age. It's not downhill, that's for sure. I feel really good.
No.
I feel better now in my 50s than I did in my 40s. So
exactly.
I'm sure you'll continue with that.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Anton,
Awesome.
it is awesome to have you back on, mate. To see your bubbly, friendly face again, it lights the podcast up, mate. So it's been really, really cool to have you back, laughing away in the background to all the cool stories and doing your little love heart signs as you always do. So fantastic to have you back on, mate. Anything you'd like to say before we wrap it up?
Just much love to you guys. Much love to the BJJ community. Again, respect to Rounds for Respect. I strongly suggest you guys get some of them on the show and talk about that, because I've never seen such unitedness in such a short, in a long time. And I really think that's special. And to all the people out there who did lose someone in their life due to domestic violence in this year, I'm terribly sorry for that. It's just a horrible way to go out. But I just love what we can do as a community, and the community is everything. Thank you so much, and happy birthday, Kim, and stay epic, Brent. Talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
And 92 people at the time of this release, fucking way too much. Just stop.
Fucking way too much.
Fucking stop.
Yeah.
Kim, awesome. Anything you'd like to say?
No, just keep listening to our podcast, guys. Keep supporting us, and we'll see you on the mats.
Woo. The episode of Roll or Die. Awesome to have you guys along for this one, the 250th. We appreciate you guys listening to all of them, but this one's pretty special for Kim, Anton, myself, and for Theo, I'm sure, as well. So keep supporting the show. Keep sharing it as much as you can. We want to grow it. We want to be able to support everyone out there in the jiu-jitsu community. If you're on the bus or you're on the tram and you're going to work and you're listening to the podcast, take one of your little earbuds out and put it in your neighbour's ear. I'm sure they'll be pleased to listen to a little bit of this.
That's a good idea.
That's how we grow
listeners, right? That could double the listeners in one go.
That is how we grow it. Much love, guys. Thanks again, and we will see you on the next episode of Roll or Die.
Hey.
Hey.